See to the arrival of a new baby camel and a one-wheeled tortoise at the animal park. Welcome to Animal Park. I'm Kate Humble.
And I'm Ben Fogel, and we're in the beautiful gardens surrounding Longleat House.
This is Lime Tree Walk. Now, the original plan was for the trees to be planted on either side of the path over there. But somewhere along the line, someone made a mistake, and they ended up like this.
But walking along it today, it's really hard to believe it wasn't always supposed to look like this. We'll be bringing you stories from the estate and the safari park, including...
Winky, the one-wheeled tortoise, has been in a bash. Now she needs roadside assistance.
We've set up a special spy cam to find out what the wolves make of an unusual pong.
But I'm just going to take the camera. And when we venture onto the mudflats to try to get the flamingos to breed, that sinking feeling.
But first, we've heard that there's been an exciting development up at the Camel House.
I'm going to just open the door to find keeper Kevin Nibbs and a couple of Bactrian camels. But what happened this morning, Kevin?
Well, sometime during the night we've had another baby, which is this little white one down here.
Oh, look. Wow. So Mum is
Raisha.
Yeah.
And it was a surprise a few weeks ago because the father needed her.
Right.
Over sort of more than a year would be sort of sexually mature. It's a bit of a surprise. But no, we come this morning and we found this little white thing.
And, I mean, all-important question, has he or she fed yet?
She has, yeah, absolutely perfectly.
Right.
As opposed to with the other one there, by herself, within just a few barley.
Barley. So they seem concerned to have another little one here? Are they being over quite a lot?
Yeah, I think curious. Another one in the house, really. Very well at the moment. Maybe Elvis is a little bit worried about what it is.
Yeah.
But they'll be best friends, and it's a good playmate for them, really.
And female, this new little one, people say with human children that girls develop faster than boys. Do you think there's now you've got this direct here, would you say the same is true?
I would say yes. The little female calf here, she's almost as big as Elvis is now anyway.
Wow.
And he's 3 weeks old, so
right.
And I think she'll develop a whole lot quicker than Elvis did anyway.
The species, because there aren't many Bactrian camels left.
There's not any male birth is fantastic. Although Elvis was good.
Get out of here and leave us with our babies. Kevin, great news much, and we look forward to seeing her up about out in the park. Thank you.
Up in Longleat House, there's a plan afoot to do something very radical to the Great Hall. This is the largest room in the house, and one of the few parts to have survived almost unaltered since the place was built by Sir John Finn during the reign of Elizabeth I. But the Great Hall has changed in one fundamental way, because back in Tudor times, when you walked in here, you would have been faced with a riot of colour. Longleat Curator of Historic Collections, Kate Harris, has investigated how the room was first decorated.
It was the room that impressed anybody first when they arrived, so it showed how important you were, who you were. Ours is covered in heraldry, so it shows who your patrons and friends were as well.
Originally, the Great Hall was more than a reception area. It was at the heart of the Tudor house, a magnificent room for eating and entertaining. The great screen is made of wood, and the walls are covered with panelling. But despite appearances, what we see today is not the natural surface of that wood. In fact, almost all the brown you can see is paint.
I think the current sludge brown is almost at the opposite end of the colour scheme of the original hall. The 16th century scheme was revealed as very sophisticated, built up of many layers, so that there's an undercoat, if you like, a dark stain in the bottom half of the screen, followed by colour, followed by glazes. Its total appearance would have been much more sophisticated.
The sludge brown paint was first applied in Victorian times, and recently one small section was stripped back by conservators to find traces of the original colours.
There's an olive green, there's a pale blue, there's a darker blue, and then there's the graining on top.
The brown paint is particularly unfortunate when you remember that this is, after all, the home of Alexander Thynne, the 7th Marquess of Bath. an artist and a dresser, there's no denying that Lord Bath is a big fan of colour. And now he's desperate to see a bit more of it on the walls of the Great Hall. He's teamed up with interior designer Claire Rendell to come up with his own personal take on that Tudor pizzazz.
It would have been impressive, it would have had fabulous colours, gilding, it would have been something really, really glamorous and very, very bright. And what the Victorians tended to do was come in and slap a load of brown paint on, clean all the stone. They've done it with churches, they've done it with, public meeting places, and they've done it with a lot of stately homes.
Because Longleat is a heritage treasure of international significance, Lord Bath is not actually allowed to come up with an ingenious plan to indulge his decorative vision.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a digital photograph of the Great Hall, and then we're going to digitally enhance that using the computer. And Lord Bath is actually going to choose his own colours, so it won't be exactly as it would have been when Sir John Thynne had the house opened, but it will be the present Marquess's choice, and it will give visitors a sense of how the Great Hall would have looked when it was coloured. So it'll sort of be truer to the Elizabethan theme.
The kind of colours that
Yes.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you hold it right. Well, I'm feeling we've lost out of what the Elizabethans would have had as a colourful Great Hall. So I'm wanting to get back to a colourful and yet keep the spirit of it being contemporary, but be bold in choosing the colours.
What about gilding and sort of silver? I mean, there would have been, I would imagine, just to kind of catch the light in the evenings. Because Sir John would have wanted to show off rather a lot, wouldn't he? So I'm wondering whether he would have smacked quite a bit of gold leaf on.
I wouldn't. Yes, you might if you find, let's say, the ribbons in her hair or something in that nature.
Maybe the angel's wings.
Not to overdo the gold.
No, just to really bring it out. And make it live, yeah.
I get right up to the panel.
Lord Bath has lived here for much of his 74 years, and he's never seen this room decorated in any other scheme. Claire's digital photo idea has already got his creative juices flowing.
I would like to choose colours, going over the panels and saying all the middle bit, the rings round, etc., in contrasting colours around the rainbow, and also to bring out the stonework in colour.
If Lord Bath had his way, he'd have the paintbrush out and he'd be, painting it exactly as he wanted to, but as a historic building, he can't do that. Which is a great shame, really. It'd be quite interesting.
We'll be back later to see just what Lord Bath comes up with, and whether it really is a shame that he's not allowed to redecorate the Great Hall.
I'm out in Wolfwood with Keeper Bob Trollope and Head of Section Brian Kent. And today you've both done something rather unusual. You've put down some red deer poo in their enclosure. Why have you done that, Bob?
It's a continuation of the enrichment that we do here, so it's scent enrichment. It's something that, if they were in the wild, they would naturally come across. But because they don't here, we would just put it in there to see what sort of reaction we get.
OK, well, what we've done, to get an even closer view of the wolves here, if you just pan back, you will see expert cameraman Andy Milk looking very focused there. Andy has hidden a little camera, which we're calling Wolf Cam, which hopefully will get a very close view or perspective of the wolves, and this is the screen that we're going to be watching it on. What are you hoping to see, Brian?
I'm hoping for the wolves to come over and investigate and have a good sniff around, but they're a bit weary at the moment. More than likely, probably roll around in it.
Like a dog would do, or
Basically like
to
a
mark
dog, yeah.
themselves. There we have if you just stop there, Andy, we have a very nice view of our poo.
I don't know how
But
long
no
it's going
wolves.
to be, but
they're not very far away, but they're in the Land Rover at the moment.
Who's this one right outside the window here?
This is Ziva.
Ziva, and she's actually the lowest
She's
in the pecking order now, isn't she?
Animal, yeah.
So
So there's a few more around. There's one tip. He's instantly attracted to the smell of the deer poo.
Yeah, which we can just see now.
Yeah.
Look at that
There he
coming
is, he's
right up.
sniffing that.
Now, oh look, there we go. It's actually, is it picking it up? And
It's trying to bite it.
is that just seeing what it is exactly? Oh, it's taking some away.
Yeah. If we were to leave right now, then most of them would come straight in.
So they're a bit wary of us being here as well, this close. Now, who's that second one coming in now?
That's Ziva.
That's Ziva. So this is the lowest in the hierarchy. And she used to be the top dog, the top dog, pardon me.
Yeah. But we had a younger female who come up through the ranks, which would be a natural progression.
And that's what would happen out
in the pack. Which, Frida, which is the one that took over Alpha, is just there. She's not very far away, but obviously
Andy, can we zoom in a little bit on? Look at those eyes. You often hear about wolf eyes. Now, again, she's just sniffing through it. She's not rolling. None of them have actually rolled in it yet, have they?
Yeah. In the wild, they would scavenge. If they couldn't find any prey as such, they would scavenge and come across that. There could be some nourishment in that. So that's why she's obviously having a root around in it.
It is amazing to see the wolves this close, isn't it? That's a fantastic shot. Look at her ears moving.
Yeah.
She's listening. That's obviously picking up all the different noises. Well, Bob and Brian, thank you very much. It's great to see the wolves looking so good.
Back up in Longleat House, interior designer Claire Rendell is helping Alexander Thynne, the 7th Marquis of Bath, to come up with a new colour scheme for the Great Hall. Something that would be a little more to his liking than the present coat of sludge brown paint.
OK, so Alexander, here's a print of the photograph that we took the other day of the Great Hall.
Yeah.
OK, that we've printed out digitally in black and white for you to colour in.
Well, let me think of the building blocks. I'm thinking of the magenta,
Yeah,
the green,
yeah,
the yellow, possibly the two blues.
yes.
Lord Bath isn't actually allowed to change the decor of the Great Hall, but this is a good opportunity to see what the place might look like if only there were no rules about heritage buildings.
So what Lord Bath is going to do now is get his crayons out and colour in this digital print for me, and he's going to give me colour references, number references, that we're then going to use for the colours for the computer enhancements. We're going to go back to the studio with this plan, with Lord Bath's colours on it, and then we're going to do the digital enhancement of the photograph.
When the house was first built in the reign of Elizabeth I, almost all of the woodwork was painted, though not necessarily as Lord Bath would have it now.
I think it should be a full spectrum of colour and at a particular brightness.
In Elizabethan times, even the carved stone figures would have been painted.
They're all blondes, are they? I think they're all blonde, are they?
That's what I noticed, yes.
I'm not sure I approve.
We'll be back later when Claire's digitally enhanced picture is complete and we can see Lord Bath's new colour scheme unveiled in all its glory.
Down in Pet's Corner, there's a problem with one of the most famous residents. There are over 30 tortoises living here, and they're all popular with the visitors. But one in particular is a firm favourite, Winky. She's a female spur-thighed tortoise, and when she arrived at Longleat back in 2003, she'd already lost one of her back legs in an accident. Her previous owner had fitted Winky with a wheel, so that she could still roam wide and free. But the wheel was looking the worse for wear, so head of Pet's Corner, Darren Beasley, called in a specialist model maker to fit a new one. That's the trouble with technology. You have to keep on top of the maintenance. And Winky has needed a new wheel to be fitted at regular intervals. But now, the breakdown service has had to be called in.
Recently we've had a bit of a problem and she's managed to bend the axle. And of course what's happened now is the wheel has moved and is rubbing on the little piece of stumpy leg that she has got. So we don't want to go back to start again with her being poorly and stuff. At the moment, Winky's still motoring around and is dragging the wheel and her stump around, and she's still eating, so she seems okay. But I think over a period of time, if we just left it alone, then obviously it's not doing her any good. It can only then do her bad, so it'll get in the way and might cause her a discomfort in her leg. So we don't. Tortoises are funny things. They don't need a lot of excuses to stop eating. If you get things slightly wrong, they stop eating. So really, you want to keep it right. So before she gets to any discomfort, we're going to act now.
So Darren's called in Simon England, the model maker who fitted Winky's new wheel when she first came to Longleat.
Hi, Simon. All right, nice to see you again.
How's it going?
OK, so I'm glad you came out. Thanks for that.
That's all right, pleasure. What do we do then?
Bit of a wonky wheel with Winky. Can you see what we think's happened is over in the female tortoise pen, we've got a small low fence that goes around. I think she's got this caught in one of the squares and has heaved and has bent the axle. And so, in fact, when she walks now, it's not actually supporting her or doing anything, really.
Yeah, she's certainly used that a lot. Look at the tread pattern.
I was comparing it to the new one that we had for her a little while ago. Look at that.
She's done some miles. I say tortoises don't go very far, but this one certainly has.
After Simon's success with Winky's first wheel, his expertise has been in demand.
We've done a couple of tortoises already, so yes, it's not something totally unusual. It was very unusual when we got the first phone call, But no, you know, it's a pleasure to actually do it. It's actually nice to see her because she's put on a lot of weight since we first met her, and she looks really well.
This is a good opportunity to fit Winky with a new kind of wheel, one that might be better suited to her off-road requirements.
Now we could do something like that. I've got a nice bag of goodies here. We could do something with some low bounce in it.
Look at that.
Even bigger bounce.
A bigger wheel's going to be better, isn't it, I think?
I think that might be a better option also, because it's nice and...
Yeah.
Well, this one's solid. So if she does go off-road... if she escapes, this will probably... And it will last quite a few years anyway.
The wheel they settle on is from a model aircraft, and it seems to be an improvement.
That's the original one.
This actually would give her more support. I mean, you can see instantly. Look at that. I mean, I'm supporting her body there because she's not bothering to, but on grass, that actually gives her more clearance. And it was all to do with this, the remnants of whatever happened to the leg. You know, I presume an animal had attacked her years ago. This then doesn't connect. Look, can you see? There's a gap there. There's no way that's going to connect with that wheel, which is what we want. We don't want to make a secondary problem. We don't want to make her sore or anything.
Darren thinks this wheel looks good, but will it work in practice?
Let's give her the off-road challenge. These guys all around the Mediterranean, all the rocks and the nooks and the crannies and the... to be fair, it's a chalk mouse. It grows through instantly. It's quite a sheer...
Keep working like
that as a result.
And it's lightweight as well.
Yeah.
Of course, Winky Wheel has restored ability.
This is something that we're in. It's good for us as well. So, you know, it's good news all round.
When the flock of pink flamingos came to Longleat a couple of years ago, they were all juveniles and not old enough to breed. Now they're almost mature, and the keepers are keen to encourage them to get on with it.
I'm in the aviary with head of section marked high and possibly the heaviest bucket of mud. I do mud into one of the muddiest places apart.
The area we're hoping that the flamingos will use as light.
Hang on, let's go. Oh
Right.
no, where am I going to go now?
This
This wet, soggy, horrible area is a breeding site.
Yeah, lots of mud.
Where am I going now?
Over to those tufts.
On this stuff?
There's a nest cone, which is
Right.
probably about 12 inches high.
Yeah.
About sort of foot across, 12 inches
What,
across.
just a mini volcano?
Oh.
Extraordinary. So, what's the plan?
Well, all these birds are young birds, another breeding flock of adult flamingos. So they might be a bit clueless, really, as to how to build a nest.
Right.
So what we're going to do is actually put some here for them, have an idea of what they've got to do.
Oh, right. So you're something for them to copy, effectively?
Yeah, that's right.
OK, well, you better show me what to do as well, because I've got no idea.
These were ones we used last year, around the edges.
Now, you said you got these as juveniles. They're looking pretty much like full-blown adults now. They've got the sort of full pink plumage. Does that mean that there's a chance that they will breed this year?
Well, I think maybe it'd probably be a bit much to expect of them this year.
Right.
You know, they're better. They sort of have to breed really as a whole.
Then they display.
Initially, they were pigeons, and then a whole lot will turn.
I have to point this out. You can't. In fact, you'll have to explain.
Before you fall over.
Because look at this. Yeah, well and truly stuck. Stop being drama queens, the two of you, and carry on with this. Right. So, when it comes to actually laying the egg, will they line the hollow in the top with grass or anything?
Grass in that, but they will. They would just lie the egg in there.
And how long does it take for a flamingo egg to hatch?
Between about 28 and 31 days.
And will both parents be involved in the brooding of the egg?
Yes, they would, and then obviously when they hatch, both parents would then look after the chick, and you know the chick, they will leave the nest probably at about 7 days. They can walk. They'll leave the nest and they'll
through
potter
this
around.
mud.
Yeah.
Well, I'm because I'm not sure how to, and the camera I'm definitely completely stuck. Very, very much this trick.
Back in Longleat House, interior designer Claire Rendell has returned with the finished picture of the Great Hall, now digitally enhanced with Lord Bath's new colour scheme. Originally, this room was brightly decorated, but all the panelling and woodwork was painted brown in Victorian times. Lord Bath has lived with it all his life. Now, at last, he'll be able to see what could be done with the decor, if only they'd let him.
Ta-da!
Ha-ha!
Okay. So when do we start?
Oh, it's certainly showing how we can improve on brown. I would
put something in front of the brown, except it's impolite, so I'll just say brown.
Also here to inspect the finished picture is Kate Harris, the curator of Longleat Historic Collections. She'll be able to judge whether Lord Bath's ideas are true to the Elizabethan scheme.
I think it reflects the buoyancy of 16th century polychromy, but it's a very modern take on that, and all the colours are probably unproducible at that period. So it's as inauthentic as you could get.
If somebody wants to come to your assistance and put a colour scheme up there and show what you think it should have been like, I'm very happy that it should be put up there equally.
I think it should have been like, but what the people discovered it was like.
There was bound to be some clash between historic accuracy and artistic flair, but at the end of the day, it's all down to taste. So, what do you think of Lord Bath's scheme?
I mean, it sort of looks very mad LSD tartan, doesn't it, really? No, not my colour palette at all. I think Kate was slightly shocked, but she'll have a better knowledge of what it was like originally. But I think it's fair to say Lord Bath has a fairly unique sense of colour. Isn't to everybody's taste, obviously.
The narrow-gauge steam train that runs round the park has long been a big hit with the visitors, young and old. But it's more than that for some of the people who work here, railway enthusiasts who live, breathe and even eat the glory of steam.
It's the end of a lovely hot day here, and Kate and I have come down to Longleat Central to catch up the station. What's going on here?
Afternoon tea.
Bacon for afternoon tea, what's on a shovel?
On a shovel in the box. That's it.
So that literally, you dip it into the actual furnace?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly
Well,
that.
let's get it cooking,
Here we go.
and we'll test it out and see how good it is.
So apart from cooking bacon, John, what else do you have to do at the end of the day here with all the steam trains?
Well, they've got to be taken in, all the ash taken out, smoke box cleaned, blow the boiler down if it needs to be, get the ashes out, clean the fire, make sure there's no hot ashes left in, and then generally just, fill the boiler up, ready for next day.
Does she have to be buffed on the outside as well? Does she have to be clean so she's sparkling in the morning?
That's usually done in the morning, especially my nameplate.
I know, I did notice that.
It is very, very grand having a train named after you.
Oh, very much so.
What did you do to deserve that?
I suppose it was your service. It was a surprise to me.
So we've just got about another 20 to go before we get steam trains named after us.
Well, I think that bacon looks more or less ready, don't you, John?
It's not far off now.
Not far off. We will be making ourselves some delicious bacon sandwiches cooked on a train, but sadly, that's all we've got time for on today's programme, up on the next Animal Park.
All over Longleat, there's a baby boom on. Down by the lake, Mum doesn't want anyone too close to Junior.
I'm going to get bitten.
The ostrich's new chick is just hours old. We'll be there to see.
Nobody even knew she was pregnant, so these 4 little lion cubs were a big surprise.
We'll have all that and more next time on Animal Park. Still crackers about animals, Ronnie Corbett takes a look at the surreal world of creative poodle styling. You have to see Barney from Bedfordshire's Salvador Dali-inspired look to believe it. That's next here on BBC Two.